Welcome to Boss Radio Live. I'm going to tell you right now, we are having technical difficulties today. Okay, so we're just put that out there right now. So if strange things happen today, I warned you. But what will not be strange and what will be amazing for you guys today is I have an amazing guest. Chris Carr is on the show today. And you're going to learn a little bit more about him in a moment, but it's going to be really good for those of you who are preparing your young people for college, or even if they're already in college. But it's going to be a really good informational show today. So please, if you know somebody in that position, you want to share this episode, share this show with them right now so that they catch it. This is going to be some really good information for you guys, and that's coming right up.
It's Boss Radio Live with NJ, your three-dimensional podcast. Baltimore, Maryland. I love my city.
Wow. You have to have balance.
Mother's Day extravaganza event being held by LUC Lois Button Culver.
Come meet me today at the Spirit Fest. I want to hear what you have to say.
Again, welcome to the show. This is where he is the boss of me. And we have, as I said today, Chris Carr, who is an advisor, a mentor. He's a Ph.D., and he has started an organization called One Point Mentorship. And if you guys have never heard of Chris, I'm just going to give you a little intro for him so you can hear all about the amazing things that he is doing. Chris Carr has dedicated his career to helping young people grow. With 15 years of experience in higher education, a Ph.D., and years teaching and mentoring thousands of students, Chris has accumulated a lot of knowledge that he wants to share with you. Chris has supported a host of students in applying for and winning awards such as the Rhodes, Marshall, and Fulbright scholarships. He understands the undeniable power of mentorship.
I was overwhelmed with the amount of options for those one-year fellowships in graduate schools. With Chris's support, I ended up applying to and winning for the Fulbright Research Grant in 2019. And in the following year, when I felt ready for graduate school, I ended up applying to and winning the Marshall Scholarship. And I'm currently a 2021 Marshall Scholar at the University of Oxford.
Chris, through his organization, One Point Mentorship, helps students develop a greater vision for their lives, overcome limiting beliefs, and implement and execute success strategies. The tools Chris teaches can last a lifetime and help your student become their best and most authentic selves. So guys, welcome to the show, Chris Carr. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Michelle, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really glad to have you on. And actually, this is like a really great time to have you on for, I would say, those who are maybe going to 12th grade next year and those who are even just graduating. I just saw graduation today. So this is a really great timing. This information is just really good information to have. And organizations like you, what you do is awesome, and I love it. because we could use more help in that respect as far as trying to get to college. And then um, even the young lady who was in the intro, you know, winning those very prestigious awards. So let's talk a little about that. So I'm going to start with how did you even get into doing this as a career?
Well, I was always interested in teaching, and I actually studied business as an undergraduate. So a lot of the things that I teach students are from they're kind of lessons from personal experience that I wish I had when I was not an undergraduate. I wish I had someone kind of showing me some of these things. So I was a business major, but I always had an interest in teaching, and I wanted to travel. And but I always felt this pressure. I have to finish school in 4 years and get a job after, and all the economic pressure that comes with you know leaving high school and starting off on your own. And so I did my program, and then I was I was working for a year. I'm from New York, so I was working at an advertising agency, and it was okay, but I was like really kind of feeling like there are things that I wanted to explore that I didn't do in college, and one of them was teaching. And so I joined the Peace Corps. I was a Peace Corps volunteer.
Oh, wow.
So I lived overseas for 2 years, and that's when my first teaching experience was overseas. And then that was really I just loved it. And when I came back, I actually took a few years, but I started teaching here at a community college back in New York City. I'm in California right now. I started teaching English, mostly academic essay writing, and that started like a lot of time in the classroom, and then went back to graduate school for my Ph.D. And so a lot of I was interested in becoming a professor and staying in the classroom. And then after I finished my PhD, I got a position, a more administrative position. The young woman that you had in the introduction was one of the students I worked with in the fellowships office at Brown University. So I was helping students apply for certain things like the Fulbright and the Rhodes Scholarship, really high level awards. And that's when kind of the my interest expanded beyond just teaching, say, writing and being in the classroom too. Like I really enjoyed helping students, not just with the content of their applications, but helping them manage all the stress that comes with applying for this. Like it was really like a 6-month process applying for some of these things. And a lot of the students like this, the young woman that you showed, she won 2 of these amazing awards. But when I first started working with her, she was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think I can. I'm not going to apply. I'm not going to, all these limiting beliefs and doubts. And she had this amazing record. And I kind of said, like, she was worried she didn't have the language skills and all these things. And I said, like, you have all this stuff. And so a lot of it's working with the content of their stuff, but also helping them just manage fears and doubts and anxieties about, am I good enough? And do I have enough to do this? Or how do I get to where I want to go? And that's what really, it kind of lit me up to be like, I still want to work with say, writing and writing support. I think writing is such an amazing tool. Hopefully we get to talk about that a little bit, but just the power of having a mentor who's maybe not a family member and someone who could be there with the students to help them, because things just come up, even if you're a really top student at an Ivy League school. Like these anxieties come in and help and prevent people from doing the things that they want to do. So you imagine like how many, there's 2 million students starting college every year, and all these with how expensive it is and the competition and all the anxieties that go with just leaving home and managing the freedom of being away. There's so much, and I think that so much goes into the application process, getting into college, and then it's like I feel like it's okay, now you're on your own to go figure out the rest. And I think what I found over my years in working in higher education with that, there were areas that students weren't being supported, and I think it's the most important areas, and say around mentorship and helping them figure out their lives beyond academics and beyond career, and just helping them figure out who they want to be and what their values are, and not just what job title they want to have.
Honestly, Chris, it doesn't sound like you're just a mentor. It sounds like you become an additional parent for.
It feels that way, yeah.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you, well, one, it's your passion, because I can hear it in your voice. I don't have to ask about that. I can hear that is your passion. But you were talking, and I was thinking to myself, people who, we can be relatively intelligent, hold great jobs, whatever, but that's completely different from readying your child for college. And I've
Mhm.
gone through it twice. So I I am personally acquainted with the process, but I mean, just managing the applications, period, is crazy. Uh,
Mhm.
so what you do is really amazing. Like, I hope that people are really understanding how you could help them make this process so much easier. You just have the knowledge, the skills, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that because we talked about like you were talking about the lady with the scholarship, um, the full it was Fulbright, right?
Mhm.
Fulbright
And then
and
the
Marshall.
Marshall, yeah.
Yes. So with those, which are like we were talking about, very prestigious awards, but my understanding is also then you're even helping as they're doing their college essays and things like that as well. So how early do you come in the process?
Well, yeah, at my last position that where I was supporting that young woman, for example, I was mostly working with juniors and seniors and students getting ready to leave college. And I thought, like, again, from what I was seeing, where I thought a lot of students weren't really, they're missing something. I think there's a lot of support that they could have, that was really needed earlier on. So that's why I decided to start this venture and shift to supporting students that are leaving high school and getting ready to go into college. So not necessarily, I do some work with, say, college essay applications and stuff like that, or college applications with the essays and writing. But really, what I like to do is to support them as they're getting ready to leave high school and getting ready to go into college. First of all, like up leveling their writing skills, because there's a gap between what they're
Okay.
expected to do in high school compared to what their college courses are going to ask them to do. um, and then but also, so not just academically, but also helping them manage the freedom of being away. Here's some things you need to think about, or here's some things to be aware of. And I think the working in the fellowships office is really informing the work that I'm doing here. I'm kind of calling it like almost like a fellowship model of like looking at college as a almost like a fellowship application. You don't ever have to apply for those things, but if I ask
Yeah.
students to think of it that way, because those applications ask not just for academic things that you want to work on, but activities and personal interests. So it's really a combination of every aspect of the student's life. And I think a lot of times, students will just go along and they're kind of thrust into this situation where there's all this freedom and openness and all these choices and all these things to manage. And then say they get to maybe junior year and they're applying for maybe a job or an internship, and they have no professors to write a recommendation for them because they haven't been
Mhm.
connecting and they haven't been developing those connections. So I ask students to, or I kind of have them think of, like, when you go into college, you want to start building an advising team. And I'm one of their mentors, but I ask them to start to it doesn't have to be every single professor every class that you take, but if you like a class, like, you don't have to go talk to the professor just when you're struggling. Like teaching them how to like learning how to talk to the professors, go to office hours, but developing those connections over time. It's not just one big interaction and then say get them to write a letter for you or to support you or to maybe ask, if you're interested in the subject, how do you ask people for advice on how to proceed, or maybe do research with a professor that you really like, or just so if you never talk to the person and just show up for the big ask, it's going to be really difficult. But
Mm.
if you're kind of going and showing interest, like, people love to talk about their work. Most 99% of the people, like teachers, they're happy. I remember when I was a teacher, I loved so many times no one would come into office hours, and I loved it when students came in and showed an interest in the class,
Wow.
and like people are dying to talk about their work. But it's intimidating to talk to, if you're 18, to maybe talk to a professor who's older and has all this experience, and that's just one example. But just to, yeah, get students in the mindset of, you're not just going to college to, say, get a job to make a nice salary, which is nice. That's always
Mhm.
obviously part of it. We live in material
Of
world, so
course.
those things has to be consideration. But it's kind of the mindset of, like, you're starting your adult journey, and hopefully it's not just get an education for 4 years and then you stop learning or you stop growing, but just kind of thinking of it as, like, here are the things that I value, and here's the way that I want to live, or the types of things I want to do, not just seeking out a specific job or position after college. And because when you're 20, you obviously you want different things than
Mhm.
when you're 30 or 40 or 50. So it's the things that I ask students to start thinking about. I think they're going to be asking these questions of themselves their whole lives. It's not just let me figure out my life at 20 and then I never think about it again. That's not how things work.
Yeah.
Especially now, more and more people aren't staying in the same job for 40 years or a whole career. Like people are shifting a lot, and
Well, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, and so
That's
just
definitely true.
yeah, so just letting the kind of shifting the focus from like the outcome to the process, like the process of learning and growing, and not just growing academically and professionally, but in personal interests and routines and habits and health. And are you sleeping enough? And do you have social things? And do you have activities? And it's a lot. It's a lot to do. It's a lot, especially if you've never been away from home for the first time. It can be overwhelming for a lot of students. So just to get them to think about these broader like personal growth questions, and not just
Mhm.
I'm here to get a concrete thing out of college, which is part of it. Again, part of it's not to ignore those things.
I I really like what you're saying because even though, I talked to you, I looked at like your website, your LinkedIn and all of that. But listening to you say it, I mean, honestly, what I'm hearing is that you're helping people maximize on the college experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, that's a very unique perspective, because you've kind of been on the inside, and now
Mm-hmm.
you have that perspective to share with them. And just hearing you say, like, I mean, just my daughter, for instance, she is getting ready to go into her sophomore year. And she's kind of shy or whatever, so I feel like she's fearful, like you were talking about, to even go and approach the professors when she's having trouble. And I'm kind of in the
Mm-hmm.
background going, no, you got to go, no, they want you to ask questions, so you kind
Yeah.
of like what you were saying. But just to hear somebody who was dealing with that say it, that's amazing that you were in that position and you want the students to come. So students, I hope you guys are
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I hope
and
you
I
guys are listening,
yeah,
because
and I know.
that's
Oh,
great.
sorry. Yeah, and I know that a lot of that's also from my own. Like I
Go
was
ahead.
that quiet, more like on the shy end and afraid to ask questions, or like, oh, I can't approach this person, or so a lot of that is not just from my professional experience, but being as a student way back when I was in college. Like, oh, like yeah, like that would have been those are things. There were things that I probably needed to do, and would have helped me in certain ways that I wasn't doing. And a lot of it is around just having anxiety and things like that. And I think these days, I just keep reading all these articles about how anxiety in teens is through the roof, especially with kind of like social
Yes.
media and having smartphones and just living in it's a completely different world now. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, I think, that, and I think it's also we have in our society. Like I think it's like the strange thing where, and maybe it's getting a little bit better, but the strange thing where it's like not um, you're not allowed to ask for, or you're not supposed to ask for help. There's like kind of like a badge of honor for like let me just do it all by myself, and especially when you're just starting out. But if you think of people that are professionals, I always think of, say, like athletes have so many different coach. They have their sport coach and their nutrition and their fitness and their agents and their lawyers and all these things, all these people helping them so they can spend their time doing what they do. And but when we're just starting out, we feel like we have to do everything by ourselves. So I think the like not waiting to get coaching or getting support, like starting out, getting that support when you're younger, so you can build the not just the academic skills for college students, but leadership skills and learning about what do you really care about. There's so many voices, I think, infiltrating students'
Mm.
lives, young people, like parents and family, and what they're seeing from their friends, and really people lose their own. I did, yeah, for sure. Like that lose people can easily lose what they really care about for themselves because they do what they think they should be doing instead of what they really want to do.
Wow. Well, that's a great point as well, because you're dealing with that even as you're going into school, because people have like suggestions. They want to give you suggestions. Um, but honestly, students ought to feel safe and encouraged to pursue and look into different avenues to see what they really want to do, and
Mhm.
to find their passion, like you have found yours. So, that's amazing that you kind of help them with that. And also really, Chris, that could be the difference between, you just graduating, but instead graduating, going into maybe a great internship or a great new job, or um, studying abroad, or all of the things.
Mhm.
Those are great, like, college experiences. It and not even if you can do them, you should be taking
Mhm.
advantage of them,
Yeah, yeah.
um, because I think it makes you more well-rounded. So, and do you help, and just since I mentioned it, do you help people with that when they're, looking at studying abroad and things like that as well?
Yeah, that's one thing I kind of I talk with all students about, like like traveling and getting outside of. I mean, even just going to college and being on a campus, getting away from home is, I think there's a lot of talk these days about what's the value of a college education, because there are ways, especially with the internet, to make money without going to college, and that's
Mhm.
fine too. I think all the choices are great. Like, I think it matters what everyone has, their own thing. Do what's best for you, and that's a really good. It's really good to have these other opportunities as all this technology grows and grows. But I think
True.
there's still so much value in being on a campus and being exposed to all these students from different states and other countries, and hearing different people's ideas and backgrounds, and I never would have gone overseas if I hadn't been. I got, like, the idea for joining the Peace Corps. I was I had one of my housemates had a brochure lying around for it. This is when, there's no
Wow.
internet, and it was like like 19. I graduated in 1998, so, like, there's no, different planet back then. But, like,
Don't tell your age,
yeah,
Chris.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, but if I hadn't seen that, I might never have done this, and that was one of still one of the most foundational experiences of my life. So just being exposed to what other people are talking about, and different opinions, and, like, and seeing something, that alone. But I think beyond that, going to a different country, and traveling and seeing, I didn't. I think we learn a lot more about ourselves if we get out of if we kind of just stay in the small space that we grew up in. It's hard to We don't even really know ourselves that well. So it's not even just going and I want to learn a different language and go understand that country. But I found that what I got most of, I say, living overseas and traveling, was learning more about myself than I had, in any other way. So that it's really valuable. So I try to get students to do that as much as possible, whether it's study abroad or apply for a fellowship, or for me, and it was joining the Peace Corps, because there's no, it's easy to talk us out of things. It's like, I don't have the money to do this, and I didn't have the money either. But you can find ways to do it. There's always a way to do it.
True.
And there are certain, not that everybody has to, but I think it's a really important experience. But I think it's just finding, whether it's traveling or exploring a different academic subject or trying different activities, it's really important to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, and to grow in different ways. And there's a million ways to do that. So it's what I do. I just talk with the students and find out what their interests are, and I maybe give suggestions on how they can do that for themselves. I don't have one. There's no, obviously, one answer for every single student. So it really depends on. I love talking, getting to know the students that I work with, and finding out what they really care about, and then helping them to build in those directions. And then, like, it's weird, because, like, I remember always wanting to know what's going to happen. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to get this job. This is going to happen. This is what my career is going to look like. But you take one step, and then you meet people that you never knew you were going to meet, and all these other doors open up. And then you start going on this other direction that you never thought you would go in, but it becomes really interesting, and you
Yeah.
kind of follow your own path that way. So it's really, really important to seek out those growth giving opportunities, and pushing oneself to learn different things, and to be curious, to be really curious, and to ask questions. And it's really an exciting time. It's really an exciting time for students to pursue all these different options. And I just want to help as many students as possible, to not talk themselves out of doing things that they really want to do, and to help them find their own path, and to develop their own ways of doing things.
Well, that's great. And I'm glad that there is someone like you who can kind of push them to do that. So I wanna, because we're gonna wind down, but
Oh,
I know it's fast.
that's quick.
This
Yeah.
half an hour like comes up on you really, really fast.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I really wanted you to do is from the aspect of the parents who are dealing with these, high school seniors, college age children. Um, what are three things? Don't ask me why I say three. Number three.
It's
Three
always three.
things that you really, really think are important takeaways for them today.
Yeah, there's only three. Let's see. I think I think the first. Yeah, well, I think one thing is definitely being curious, like kind of like focusing on like our language and approaching or asking students about what they're curious about or how they feel, like what's kind of underneath like the answer that we usually give to people, like I want to study this, why, like I remember was working with a student in the fall who wanted to go, she wrote an essay about wanting to be a computer science major, and I kind of pushed her like, because it was like really flat, it didn't really seem like she was that interested, and she really wasn't, like, but it was like something she thought that she wanted to do, or something that's popular, and she thought she'd be able to get a job. So anyway, like kind of opening up the lines of communication based on curiosity and openness and asking open-ended questions. That's one thing. I think encouraging the students to be curious themselves and to push themselves past their comfort zone is another thing. And two, like that's, I find that I guess the way I talk about it is focusing on the process versus the outcome. And then, yeah, I think it's knowing. This is kind of broad. There's a lot of things that go underneath this, but just knowing, reminding the students that their job, like it's that they're beginning their whole adult life. It's not like I have to do this thing immediately now and know exactly what I want to do now. Like some people do that, and that's great, but a lot of people don't, and that's also great. But just like knowing what type of student you have, and if they know what they want to do, that's amazing. But if they're kind of undecided, be like, look, we like encourage you to just grow and investigate the things that, like, what are you really curious about, and kind of ask those questions, like not just what do you think we're expecting of you, or what do you think the world is expecting of you, but what do you really like, and to listen and to listen to what they have to say, and to encourage them in those directions, I think is a great thing. And I guess I would say also get like writing skills. I always want to throw writing skills in there because like students want to forget about that, but that's such an important development. If students don't know what they want to do, like developing their writing skills is a way to uncover their thinking and uncover a lot about who they are if they're one of the say undecided students and or not sure what they want to do. That's a really amazing tool.
That's a great point. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
But writing skills are so important because yes, we have, if you're in school, yes, you really need to be able to wow them, like with your college essays and things like that. But like even past that, even your assignments, like when you're in school, you really need to be able to develop your writing skills and enhance that as you go about. And it's needed for jobs. Like if you run a business, like it's so many areas where, you need to be well spoken and you need to write well.
Yeah, and the right
communication skills.
That's true. Yeah, and it's those communication skills, but it's beyond that. On a deeper level, it's just learning how to writing helps you learn. It helps you to learn how to ask better and deeper questions, how to like investigate things from different angles, how to really like not just give like surface level answers, really get to like what's underneath whatever the subject is. It's really important, but I think it's challenging because everything is so in our current age, like everything is so like now, like I want it now, and this app for this, and everything speed up. I want things done now. And writing is like that doesn't work that way. Like it's still like you have to put in the time and like do multiple drafts. So like some of these students will just like, and I definitely did this a few times. Like you write the paper the night before, and you might get an okay grade, but I think it's less focusing on the grade and the outcome versus like getting into the process And over time, it's more challenging, but over time, you'll see the results. You might maybe not see the result that week, but over the 4 years of college and into the early career, like I think it just you see the results later on. It's something that pays more and more over time, and I think that's like our society is like, give me everything now. Like I want things now. So that's like, it's kind of like trying to get away from that mindset and teaching students to like lean into the process and just trust and just put in the work and keep taking the steps, and that it might not feel like you're getting anywhere, but you definitely are.
My husband calls it the microwave age.
Yeah,
like we don't even take the time to use the stove anymore. We just want to throw everything in the microwave. Yeah,
I know, it's true. Yeah.
So I certainly understand that. And also what I think you said was really important. And you came at it from both angles, which is the parent being more concerned about what the child's thoughts are, what they want to do, what their interest, passion, whatever, what those things are, and then the child not being afraid. So of course, if the parent asks questions and seems interested in their point of view, they will probably be less afraid to really express that. So yes, that's definitely a big one, because we see that a lot. People taking paths that just it's like I mean, I won't call it a waste of time. So I think every experience can bring something to you. It can, you can learn, you can grow from every experience, but you don't want to spend a lot of time doing something that's not even, an interest of yours. So that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that goes along with like kind of like attuning to what you really like, your kind of gut feeling or your intuition. Like if you're trying something and you want to make something work, where is that coming from? Is that coming from like your mind, or like someone else is trying to tell you should be doing this thing, or like is this really good for me? Is this really something I love to do? And like worrying about, I think if students follow, or adults or whoever follow their gut feeling and follow what they really love to do, like the results or the material success will come. But I think it's important to really enjoy. We spend way too much time working to not feel connected to the work that we're doing in some way. Yeah, right. Yeah. And it doesn't mean every day is going to be the most fun day. There's going to be like boring tasks to do in any job, and it's not like every day is going to be a huge party every day, no matter what you do. But just overall, like being on a path where like this is fulfilling to me in important ways that I think it's just important to get young people to be connected to that idea and to develop that for themselves.
Yeah, and I actually had a mentor as well, and one of the pieces of advice given to me was look at every day like it's an adventure. That has stuck with me, for years, and that's how I try to tackle every day. So yeah, that's a great mindset. That's a great mindset to have.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. This has been great. Thank you for leaving my audience with some great nuggets. So I hope, young people, whoever caught this, was listening, and definitely parents, because I think everything that Chris left us with today was just really, really important. So I appreciate you being on. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I love this. It's great.
Awesome. You guys, if you want to check Chris out, you can catch him on his LinkedIn there, and I'll also put that in the chat for the show as well. So you guys pick that up and go hook up with it. Good question. Now that I'm even mentioning that, because we're on two different sides of the of the country, but I wanted to know, do you mentor people virtually?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Work with people, American students across the country, international students, whoever. Yeah, we're definitely.
Wow.
It would be great if they're local. It would be great to be able to meet face to face sometimes, but virtual. Yeah, most of my meetings are online. Yeah.
It's good to know, Chris.
Anybody, please reach out. We could do a free consult just to have a conversation if any of these things spoke to you, whoever's listening, and if you want to go deeper, I'll be happy to have a chat and get to know what you and your student are interested in and where you want to go. And then also, in addition to the LinkedIn, there's onepointmentorship.com is another place where there's some information on there, a little bit more detail or similar things that I've been talking about, and some of the things that I work with, and ways to contact me.
One point, and I don't know why that's not in here, but One Point Mentorship.
But LinkedIn, you can contact me through.
I'll put it in the chat as well.
Okay, great. Yeah,
put that in. But thank you so much for joining me, Chris. This has been great.
Yeah,
that was a quick half an hour, right?
I know it goes so quick.
A lot of great information, though. So thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, you guys, another showdown and great information again with my guest, Chris Carr. So until next time, you guys, make sure you catch us every second and fourth Friday, 6 p.m., same time, same place, same channels, for more great guests. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. Make sure you check out Chris's LinkedIn and onepointmentorship.com, and I'll put those in the chat, as I said, and you guys definitely reach out to him. I know that it is about that time. So really great show. And until next time, you guys, I will see you then. Stay boss.